We also are demonizing AI at education levels at scale so hard and so fast that there's going to be an overcorrection and understanding that what AI is actually doing is forcing our children to critically think and input instead of memorize and figure out the system. I've never been more optimistic. For the first time ever, smart parents aren't forcing their kids to go to Stanford. We are truly in the pre-dawn of parents around the world finally not putting university on a mandatory pedestal, which is creating a level of curiosity and a level of thoughtfulness and a level of self-awareness and a level of actually auditing children that is going to lead to incredible happiness for children and much better education, not how education is sold. We also are demonizing AI at education levels at scale so hard and so fast that there's going to be an overcorrection and understanding that what AI is actually doing is forcing our children to critically think and input instead of memorize and figure out the system. We have connected humans. There's so much beauty to this. You know how many people are married happily forever because of these technologies? You know how many people here are more educated than they could have ever been because of these technologies? I've never been more bullish on education because I think we're about to tear down over the next 50 years the way education has been packaged, weaponized, sold, and have extracted an enormous amount of happiness out of society. And by the way, I am not overtly in love with social media on the record. I'm in love with consumer attention. It just happens to be on social media right now. Obviously, I'm sure this is not news for anyone. Being who I am and what I do and living in the United States, I am bombarded over the last month of like, what do you think about if TikTok gets banned? What's gonna happen if TikTok gets banned? But if it gets banned, all that attention just goes somewhere else. And so like to me, we're not out of business if TikTok, we're not out of business if every social media disappears. Attention goes somewhere. It was on the radio back in the day, then it went to television, now it's on the internet. The current state of the internet is social media. The metaverse may happen one day. This is all about attention. And what creators understand is the attention sits on these platforms, and to remind everybody, the attention is free. And it's more free than ever now because you and your competitors and the other platforms now reward quality creative to get more organic reach because your job and your competitor's job is to keep people on your platform, so it's better to give people what they actually want versus the alternative.
So in terms of quality content.
Quality content, got it.
How does your ideation process
Got it, I got it. So here's how I see the world. A brand has a brand positioning. We have to respect that. Work has been done. You have to have some sort of point of view, respect. Next, and most importantly, and the biggest issue I have with advertising, the next thing in our framework is what's the business objective? So the framework for me doing social brand building and building businesses is what's the brand stand for? What's the business objective? The next thing we do is we create 40 to 50 consumer segmentations, not 3. 40 to 50 consumer segmentations. 18 to 22-year-old males living in Bangladesh that are into esports. 21 to 27-year-old females in Tokyo making $200,000 a year. 40 to 45-year-old moms in Malaysia who have an affinity towards high fashion. Real specific consumer cohorts with real teeth. Next on that is called PAC, platforms and culture. Like, do you actually understand what the platforms are doing? Next, which platforms are you creating for? You've now gone the whole way down. Now we're gonna pick Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And for me, every brand that's in this room should be on all of them. But this is back to allocation where their dollars go. So they can't, but they should. But they'd rather spend $8 million on a TV spot. Then you go to work. So now you created a framework. Now your creative and strategy team are ready to work. Now you start posting against the framework, right? You know what consumer you're going after. You know what you're trying to achieve in business. You know how the platforms work. So you know Facebook Reels is underpriced right now. You know that green screen headline creative is over-indexing on TikTok. You know. So you start making. Now the work really begins after you make. You have a person in your strategy team called a PCS, a post-creative strategist. Her and his job is to look at all the qualitative feedback. You have your analytics and media team look at the quant feedback, and you start making your machine smart, like a half-pregnant AI. The team gets smart through the work. You start looking at the proxies. When you've got a retail brand that sells in retail stores, you're running the media against holdout clusters to prove that you're actually driving incremental growth. If you have a DTC brand or an app, it's a piece of cake. You're just looking at the black and white data. When the creative goes viral or over indexes its norm, it becomes the brief for more efficient and effective work. So now the virality based on the consumer sentiment and intent and truth becomes a proxy to your brief, not a strategist sitting in an office, going on Reddit for 4 hours, writing a brief. Then you do that forever and ever and ever. As you start getting affirmation that something's not working, you actually eliminate Malaysian moms 40, 45 because you aren't finding affinity. Your creative team hasn't hit the mark. On the flip side, while marketing to Indonesia gamers 13 to 15, you realize it's actually the female gamers 13 to 15 that are even more interested in the intent, and you create a new cohort to go there to double down on the truth of the consumer, not the audacity of the boardroom. Think about how fundamentally different that is than 99% of the execution of social media marketing in our industry. That's how big the opportunity is. That's how I do it.